What do I do if I'm in a conflict? Well, Psalm 133 tells us how good it is when brothers dwell together in unity. The goal of the body of Christ is unity. So why then is it so hard to have unity? Well, a lot of times it comes because we do not feel that we are heard. We do not feel that we are understood. And so a lot of times conflicts arise because I have my point of view and I'm going to tell you my point of view. And then a person's going to argue with me because they're going to tell me their point of view. And we're so busy in conflict arguing our own point of view that we don't spend time to understand where the other person is coming from. So what do I do if I'm in a conflict? Well, the first thing I would do is pause, take a step back, try to understand the other side of the conflict. You don't have to agree with it. It doesn't have to be your perspective. You don't have to say, yes, this is right, or no, this is wrong. You just have to understand where they're coming from. Anyone who's on a debate team or done any kind of debating knows that one of the best practices you can do is put yourself in the opposite shoes, the other debate team, and debate their point of view, because then you can see your weaknesses and your strengths differently than you would see them before. Remember that we all have blind spots. There are all areas about ourselves that we can't see, and we see other people's blind spots very clearly. And so it's easy for us in a conflict to point out their blind spot while missing our own. And if we put ourselves in their point of view, maybe we can see our own blind spot. And then maybe as we understand each other, we can work to resolve the conflict. Now that only works if the conflict is, a misunderstanding. What if it's actually a difference of opinion? What if you understand them and they understand you? Well, in Acts, we actually see that Paul and Barnabas had a disagreement. They were in conflict with one another. Barnabas wanted to take John Mark and Paul didn't. What do you do then? Well, sometimes you just have to go separate ways, and that's okay. Because it wasn't a theological debate. It wasn't that one is right and one was wrong. It was just a difference of opinion. And that's okay. The EPC has great language around this, in the non-essentials, freedom, and in all things, charity or grace. And that's kind of how we want to approach this. If I'm in a conflict with someone, if they have a different point of view than me, that's okay. I have to let them be them, and I will do me. Now, if you're a leader of a group, sometimes you may be in a conflict with someone, or sometimes you may actually be mediating a conflict between people. And your job there is actually to help each other understand the other point of view. And your job is to understand both points of view so that both people feel heard. And sometimes you have to make a decision. If there is a conflict, guess what we have around us, guys and girls? We have elders. We have people that we can go to, spiritual oversight, and say, hey, here's a conflict. Can you help us out with it? Then they can listen, they can hear the signs, and maybe they can take a stand. But sometimes, like in the case of Paul and Barnabas, we just go separate ways. We have each other's blessing. It's not bad. It's not wrong. It's just different. And that's okay. And those are some good ways to handle conflict.